The goal of the show is to help you break in and thrive in advertising. And we do that every single week by sharing the stories and advice of those rocking it on the other side. And we also have our advertising news you need to know in 60 seconds or less on our LinkedIn. I assure you, it's unlike any other advertising news you have ever watched before. You got to check it out. You got to follow us and turn on post notifications. Peter Lund is incredible. He is the global chief creative officer at AKQA. AKQA, we know, is an incredible agency. They've done work with Google, with Nike, with Coca-Cola, and Volvo. Peter Lund is running the creative portion of all of this, and he is just a fantastic, empathetic leader. He talks about his superpower, how you can learn that same superpower, his best advice, and I really love how he was just like 1 or 2 years in as an art director at AKQA, and the founder of AKQA entrusted him with opening up their first ever Paris office. So there he was, him and his coworker in a Parisian apartment, looking at how do they scale and grow their Paris location to help out and service Nike Paris. That was the account. This story is fantastic. Peter's fantastic. You're all fantastic. Please give this episode a listen. And now on with the show. This is the Breaking and Entering Advertising Podcast. And as usual, I'm your accomplice, Gino Schellenberger. Kick it, Mikey. All right. Peter Lund, welcome to the Breaking and Entering Advertising Podcast. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you so much, Gino.
Yes, I'm pumped to have you on. Where are you calling in from?
I'm calling in from Copenhagen, Denmark today. It's spring has arrived. It's a beautiful day. Yeah.
Incredible. And what time is it over there?
It's we're just hitting 6 p.m. 6 p.m.
Wonderful.
So early evening. Yes.
Well, thank you for taking the time, sir. What are we going to talk about? I know I want to talk about you, your role as the global chief creative officer at AKQA, a powerhouse shop. I want to know what your superpower is. To go in a little bit different here, like what makes you so great at this role? Like how did you ascend? What is that one strength that you have? And how can other people learn it? Like, what did you do to develop that skill set, and any other best advice along the way? How does that sound, Peter?
Sounds amazing. Sounds amazing.
Good.
What's my superpower? Like, listen, I'll try and be humble, but I think it's, I've been in this role for coming up 14 years, and I think it's becoming more.
The CCO role for 14 years?
No, I started as an art director, and then moved into creative director, and then took a regional role, and in the last 6 years as global CCO. And I think I've asked myself many times, like, what is it that truly I think make me happy and fulfilled? What is it that makes me stay in this company? And I think at the end of the day, I think it's a place that keeps me on my feet. That keeps me scared. I still get scared getting briefed from a client. We are lucky enough that our clients come to us with complicated problems. We work very, very close to our clients, and I think I like the fact that I keep getting challenged and keep evolving as a creative. I started out in sort of the classical school, went through sort of graphic design, and started my career in New York at sort of institutional Ogilvy and Mather. But I think at AKQA especially, we're a design innovation firm, and I think every single brief is so different, and the response that we make is so different that it sort of forces you to evolve in your career. So I think many times I've been at a crossroad where I've sort of asked myself, like, I don't feel like I'm an expert in this area. Should I jump in at the deep end of the pool and learn and adapt to this? And I think that's what has, I think, kept me excited. And also I think what is probably my superpower is the curiosity to go deep on topics. I think especially as our industry keeps evolving. I think now with AI, like I think you have to make a deep commitment to actually learn this in the deepest way possible in order to also to get personal gratification from it. So you can also guide your clients in a
Mhm.
meaningful way.
Can we
So I
talk
think
about
that's
an
sort of
example
key.
of where you were briefed on something you're like, "Oh man, I don't know anything about this,"
It
or
happens.
maybe I'm not as much of an
Like almost
expert in
every
this?
week. But I think a concrete example, I think just 4 years ago, I was invited to step in to lead Volvo. It's one of our global clients. It's been for 10 years. We opened up AKQA in Sweden thanks to, we won it over RGA and then opened up our studio there. And I stepped in 4 years ago to lead the work. And in all honesty, Gino, I had never worked in automotive before. I haven't driven a car in 10 plus years. So you again like the relationship that we have with our clients, we work all the way up to the CEO. You just have to go in deep, 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 and sort of really commit yourself to understanding their product on the deepest possible level in order to be able to guide them. And the way we work with them is like we usually get briefed a couple of years before a new model is launched. So it's we have to really, really go deep into understanding the organization and the new models and the technology in order to be able to guide them and do communications and product and services that are truly valuable both for them and their consumers.
Yeah. So your work, how long? When did you involve Volvo?
For the last 4 years,
Wow.
last 4 years I've been leading the global relationship with Volvo. Yeah.
I remember. I mean, I drove my first car was a 1997 Volvo, like the box car, the one that's in all those famous ads where they're stacking up like tanks and like multiple
Yeah.
cars on it. And they used to tout, I'm not sure if they still do that or you guys are still doing that, but the safety aspect of Volvo goes back like in history as some of the best ads, automotive ads of all time.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's such an iconic brand. And just not long ago, we got briefed on both sort of how do they keep talking about safety in a way that is relevant? Because today, I think most other cars are equally safe, right? So the value of being the safest car brand in the world, how does that change, and how do they keep changing the way they speak about it? Also, when it comes to new features and new products, and even expanding outside of automotive. So it's a super exciting uh, client to work for, and very humbled.
Yeah, I was going to say, it begs the question, is what you're doing just advertising? Because it seems like you're transforming the business potentially, creating this framework that they can then go into their future decision-making process and be like, is this on the brand? Is this a part of the vision? It's bigger, right?
Yeah, 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 much bigger. I mean, we were born a design and innovation company, and was sort of started out with digital innovation in the early days, websites, applications, and then we saw that again. We one of our founding clients was Nike. We worked with Nike for 20 years, sort of in conjunction with White and Kennedy, doing a lot of the storytellers. We were doing a lot of the products and services, innovations, Nike Training Club. But we saw that back then, like a lot of companies, their North Star and their corporate and brand strategy was led by the story. So I think we adapted the sort of storytelling and comms angle like 15 years ago. But I think today, more and more, we work on sort of core brand transformation. So it can be like finding the North Star of the brand and then how that then translates into its product and services or storytelling. So we usually work from the very, very core of brand where we help them to define their North Star, what's their reason to exist, and then how that permeates through the ecosystem of a brand. And then sometimes we end up executing a specific product or service or communication or campaign.
Yeah, yeah. With a brand like Nike, though, don't they already have that established so well? Like, or did you learn from them like that, like core brand storytelling capacity, and then did you use that to then inspire you to find that within other companies?
I think for every single client, it's constantly evolving and changing. Of course, like Nike's core mission has always stayed the same, but then how that then gets executed and how they stay relevant and in bringing inspiration and innovation to every athlete keeps changing, right? both in terms of how they look at new products and new services, innovations around footwear or in the different sports categories. So we've always sort of been there as a key partner and help them to make that purpose relevant, right? Like a purpose is only really valuable for the consumer if it's timely, if it sort of syncs up with what happens in the world, right? So it's how do you keep activating that purpose in a relevant way?
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah. So you don't have to go in with every company that you're working with. It's not like you have to go in there, redefine their purpose or reshift it. You're maybe just identifying it and then see how that permeates in different ways.
exactly. Sometimes we clients come to us wanting to change, right? But of course, sometimes we work with brands where that is already the establishment and they are happy with where they are, and we look at how do we make that relevant and meaningful towards their consumers.
Got it. And then what's your job within this whole system? How do you come to play as a CCO?
So I usually work, I think, in both aspects. Like I usually work both in conjunction with our strategist and business strategists, both in identifying, coming up, like what could be that sort of core proposition at the heart of the company. And then I think, especially when we get very executional, how we then translate that into the ecosystem. I then help to assemble the right teams, whether it's how it translates into the brand's identity, how they speak, how they behave in terms of services that they offer to their consumers. So that I would then help to assemble the right experts
Mhm.
from our teams in order to build that.
Well, I'm curious about that because a lot of our
Mhm.
listeners are younger or
Yes.
they're trying to break in. They don't have to be
Yes.
young, but they're maybe doing a career transition into advertising, into an agency for the first time. So, understanding that process of how you identify the right teams for different client projects is so fascinating to me. What are some of those things that you're looking for? You identify the client, you identify the project. Now it's time for you to build the team around it. What do you do? How do you approach this?
Yeah, I think cast like true casting, I think is one of the hardest things to get right, and I think it's something that a lot of organizations fail, especially as you get bigger and bigger, where sort of traditional resourcing, you just look who's available, how much time. Like
Right.
true casting is hard to achieve because you need to know your teams on a very very deep level in terms of their hard skills, their soft skills. What are they personally interested about? What is truly going to fire them up? Did they just come out of a pitch and they're exhausted? Did their girlfriend break up with them? Like
Yeah.
to actually sort of hit all the different boxes where you know your team is just going to be performing at their very very best is difficult. I would also say I think we encourage a lot of the people that we hire are experts in some area or another. So I think we tend to hire people who are tend to go very very deep, either within if they're like in developers or artists when it comes to writing or art direction or design. Like we really encourage people to go extremely deep in their craft and be very very hands on. So I think that's something that I would truly encourage for the youth today. I think there has been a bit of a trend of people graduating being art directors who are lacking a bit of a craft in terms of actually bringing their ideas to life. And I think it's something that we found. Like I think that the ability to actually translate your idea and manifestate it into something concrete, I think is getting increasingly more important. It's especially now with AI, where you can do it faster than ever, and you can
Mhm.
actually test whether an idea is will have an effect on the consumer. Is it actually worth putting out in the world? So actually, yeah, making a proof of concept of your idea and having a craft that will be able to do that is so essential today.
Totally. I always tell people when you identify what role you want, you should go all in on that craft without
Yeah,
forgetting the importance of coming up with ideas. Like making good ideas and then the craft specifically is a liberating thing that people need to hear. If you want to go into copywriting, then you know that. Come up with good ideas and then execute on that writing style. Same thing with
yeah,
art direction. And you can pair up
yeah,
with an art director or the complementary partner
yeah,
to really focus on your craft and kind of lean on each other's. Because Peter, you don't want somebody like me, let's say I was coming in applying Peter Lund, Gino Schellenberger, I'm a creative director, which basically means I can be an art director or a copywriter, and I'm just out of college.
Yeah, yeah.
You would be like, what would you say that? You'd be like, get out of here. There's no way you're good at both at this young of an age.
Exactly, exactly. I think, and we get a lot of candidates coming through, especially like who hasn't really gone deep, and again, they're saying that they can do all these different things, but they haven't made a choice in terms of committing to something. So I think that would be one major advice in. And also, I think it's like when you go deep, you also start falling in love with the process of making something, right? Where I think the danger in our industry is that if your only gratification is to get to produce final work, and you it's so dependent on so many factors in terms of budgets and client changing their mind constantly. So if you don't fall in love with the journey and the process of going deep and in research and in interrogating a problem and finessing it in terms of its craft, you won't last long. I think that is what's going to make you excited and stay in this industry. Is falling in love with the process and the craft.
Peter, how would you break in today? It's 2025. You just graduated undergrad, whatever you studied. What would you be doing to get noticed at AKQA? How would you get your first job there?
So, Gino, I think something that I found myself valuable is that, like, I spent quite a few years not knowing what I wanted to do, and so when I find a course that I committed to, when I started building my portfolio, like I was so curious about different aspects of our industry. I wanted to do video games, I wanted to do films, I wanted to work on product industrial design. So I went quite deep in actually producing the work. Like I reached out to filmmakers and produced the spots that I liked. I had ideas for product and services, and I found friends that could develop, and I developed them. And looking back, I think more than just the ideas, I think the behavior and I think the experience that you get of going deep and also opening yourself up to working with people from various different industries, reaching out to professors and sourcing different types of academia to find the right solution. I think that openness, I think, is so important. Like I think everyone can come up with ideas, but like I think more than ever, I think the what is the right ideas to put out in the world and to open yourself up to connecting with some of the best thinkers and sourcing academia and speaking with professors from universities and gathering knowledge to then better your work and better your ideas.
Hmm.
I think is one of the most important skill sets today, rather than just I think locking yourself in a room, coming out with an idea, just trying to put it out. Like
Yeah.
I think that openness to collaborating and openness to technology is the most essential. And then forcing yourself to go deep and get the work done. Like connect yourself with developers and filmmakers, and use the time at university to shape the work and the type of behaviors that you would want to repeat later in your career.
I love that. I love that. I love that. Yeah, because when I visit colleges and universities in the US, I remind them like this is the best time that you have right now. There are no clients. It's usually spec
Exactly.
work. And you have access 24/7 access to like libraries, buildings, whiteboards, production facilities on your campus with hungry other aspiring professionals that you can team up with. You can go and lock yourself in a room and drink a Red Bull and stay up all night and concept and come up with ideas with your craft, finding good briefs through breaking and entering. Um, it's just a liberating experience. There is that safety on that campus. Like going back
Yeah,
to the Volvo reference, where you're not going to get fired, you're not going to get yelled at by a client. There's no budgets to mess around with. Like you have that safety and freedom to create whatever you'd like in that little bubble.
exactly. Yeah. And I think whenever I interview people, I find it the most valuable to hear about the journey that they took in order to solve the problem they identified. Like, who did they speak to? How deep did they interrogate the problem and the solution that they came up with? I think figuring out sort of the mindset and how people work and operate, and I think is the most valuable thing. Rather than, I think sometimes you get an idea and it's sort of just made by magic, and they haven't really interrogated how would it actually work, or so it's like it's that behavioral, yeah, thought process. I think that's the most valuable, and seeing the deck and seeing how they tell a story, and even like measuring the impact that they want their work to have in the world, right? Like, what's the intention? Why? What would make the world richer if this piece of work existed?
I love that. I love that. So you broke in then. How did you break in? What was that first shop that you broke into? Was it Ogilvy that you mentioned?
So actually, I my dream was to work at AKQA when I was in uni, and so I put a lot of work out that actually got the curiosity of AKQA. So I won a few competitions. One of them, a competition called the Future Lions, which is one that was founded by AKQA. So I won that during university. I won Can Lions, Young Lions twice, and I actually like the one of our former creative leads, Lars Bastholm. He used to run AKQA in New York, so we actually got hired by him. But then he moved to Ogilvy, so we decided to follow him. He was sort of a mentor back then. But 2 years after, the founder of AKQA, Ajaz Ahmed, reached out and asked if myself and my partner wanted to open up a new office for AKQA in Paris. And we were just like young art directors. And he gave us the opportunity to open up a brand new studio in France. So I volunteered for that assignment. And then I've been here ever since. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yes. Um, how old, like how many years of experience did you have when he asked you to open up a new office?
We had a year and a half in
What does that mean to open up? Like, does that mean like you're moving to Paris? There's a new client there. And like it could be what was the client, and like were you just supposed to be creative directors on that new client? Were you account people as well? Was there somebody else with you? What does that actually mean?
So the Nike wanted AKQA to open up in France. They were a bit tired of traditional French agencies. There wasn't an RGA or Wyden in France at the time. Um, so yeah, the founding client was Nike France. Me and my partner, we moved into a small little Parisian apartment. That was it, and then started to hire the first couple of people. So I think brought in another creative, and then producers, brought in an MD to manage the business, and then sort of steadily grew from there. So
How and they gave you like did you know how to do all this? Because like hiring is a whole other job. Leading is a whole other job as an art director, and your partner was a copywriter. Is that correct?
he was also from the design. So we were both from an art design background.
Okay.
Yeah, so we didn't have a writer. It was one of the first hires we made.
So how do you learn how to do all of that? Like, did they give you like a framework, a budget, like from the organizational standpoint? What were you working with?
So I mean, we were both quite, like, again, as I said earlier, like I had quite a few lives before choosing this career. So I had done some startups before. I had worked in the creative industry. My partner had worked in another studio. So I think we were in our mid to late 20s.
Okay.
So we're not completely starting from scratch, but I think what's amazing about AKQA's and our founder especially is that I think he's good at spotting people that has ambition, and people who are not, again, scared of a big challenge. So I think our focus in the first couple of years was, again, mainly just to focus on servicing Nike. So I
Hmm.
think we went head deep into, I think if we can make Nike happy, if we can grow, get more briefs through, the business will grow, and we can hire more people. And then we sort of like learned as we evolved. And we got support from our sort of historical mothership, which was AKQA London. So we had strategists flying in, we had producers coming in when we had to do the work. So we had sort of a lifeline into it and a safety net to ensure that we wouldn't completely fail. But
What was your favorite moment of that? Like, was there a memory that comes into mind? Was it when you first moved into that Parisian apartment with your partner, with your buddy, your coworker? Like, you just like set the keys down, it's completely empty, and you're looking around like, what are we doing here? This is insane.
I think my favorite moment, I think it was we had survived in that small Parisian apartment for I think 9 months, and we were looking for a permanent space. And our founder wanted to make a statement that we are in Paris. We're here for good. A lot of our competitors said like, "Are you crazy to open up in France? You cannot do business with French people, and especially to Danish people." So we found this incredible location in the middle of Paris. Like a lot of agencies had moved outside of Paris because it was too expensive, which was essentially the old Yves Saint Laurent showroom, a massive space that can sit 150 people. And I just remember once we signed the lease, we're like three, four people going into this massive. It looked like a gallery, and it's still our office there. We are a bit more than 100 people now, but first entering that space, and again you just knew, right, like we have to grow this, we have to fill this place with people.
It's like they say goldfish grow to the size of the tank. So
Exactly,
you did
exactly.
that. You picked a big tank. What would you say to like a young Peter, like in that Parisian apartment where it was like a tough, was it 9 months you said?
Yeah, yeah.
Like, because I'm kind of doing that right now with my business partner. We're launching Breaking Entering Media full time. We did it in September of
Amazing.
2024. We are in a 1 bedroom apartment in East Village of New York, and he's in the living room, both twin size beds. We've been there for 7 months now. Give us some hope. Give us some like what advice do you have for us? Anything here?
I think we've always been relentlessly focused on the product, right? And again, we've had a lot of long nights in that first apartment, and just to ensuring that our clients were happy, and of course the work and the end consumers were happy. So again, protect the product. And I think the if you do that, and you, which I know you have an incredible product, I think the rest will sort of organically grow from there. Like I think as soon as you start to take eyes away from the quality of what you actually initially set out to do, is where things start to slide. And then also be really, really careful about, like, especially the people that you hire in the first phase, right? Because
Mm,
it's so fragile, right? One person that doesn't fit in can just like break everything. So I think we were incredibly careful about how we grew from there, and bringing in people who can really augment. And it's a small family in the beginning, right? You spend so much time night and day um, together. So I think key hires, and then also take the time, like don't grow too fast, right?
mhm.
Like we grew to 100 people over the course of, yeah, it's been 10 years. And we were also lucky. I think we were, after Nike, we won Google, and then we went into luxury while in France. So we've done all of them: Louis Vuitton, Chanel, Hermes, all the big luxury houses, and they're still clients. So a bit of luck as well as
I like it.
yeah,
So focus on the product,
yeah,
focus on key hires, people that culturally fit, that
yeah,
understand the vision, buy into that early on. Um, don't grow too fast,
yeah.
and
Take your
pray for
time.
some good luck. And all of those things
Yeah,
should be able to help out. I love it,
yeah,
Peter.
yeah.
Amazing. So, any final things here to the aspiring advertising professionals that are listening? Maybe there's mid level professionals, maybe it's your friends. What do you have to tell them about the ad industry that you really wish you would have known starting out?
I think there has been a habit of like you have to conform to a specific role, right? I think it's good to learn a craft, but I think once you start to move beyond that, you're a starting copywriter, a art director, or I think be careful not to conform to that role. Like whenever there are opportunities around you, like I think you will face so many crossroads where you'll be intimidated by work, right? Like there's a brief which is about creating a loyalty program for a client. You're like, what the fuck? This is not for me. I think don't let yourself limit. I think our industry will evolve as fast as it's ever been, and I think we have to you have to continue to evolve as a creative and adapt and learn new skills constantly. So be open minded. Um, I think embrace briefs that are difficult and challenging. I think you will find it rewarding along the way. I think it can be daunting in the beginning, and I think I've sort of become addicted to sort of feeling insecure and be scared. I think, but in the beginning, I think I know a lot of creatives. They say no, and then they sort of that becomes the habit, and then they
Mhm.
end up being very very limited in terms of the type of work and brief they can work on.
I love it. I love it. I know exactly how you feel. You kind of just have to trust in those like moments of vulnerability. And you're like,
Yeah,
I don't know if I can do this. You just have to look back and think about all those times that you felt that way, whether it was applying to college, graduating from university, or that first internship, you got the job at that agency. All those moments at those points of time felt like there was no way that you
yes,
couldn't figure this out. This is your big vulnerable moment, but you ended up figuring it out. You always end up figuring it out if you just trust yourself, the people around you. So, Peter,
exactly.
thank you for coming on. How could people reach out to you if they have any other further questions? They want to work at AKQA, they want to do that the Future Lions program. Where should they go for all this stuff?
They like feel free to write me directly, like Peter at AKQA.com. I think if people are curious, otherwise go to our website, AKQA.com, or they can hit me up on LinkedIn. But like Peter at AKQA.com is the most direct way.
Golden. Thank you, sir. You crushed it.
Thank you, Gino.